right, folks, welcome to the Watch It With Us podcast. We're your hosts.
Hey guys, Ryan.
What's up, guys? It's Nick.
And I'm Rob. Today, folks, we are talking about is the one and only Quentin Tarantino. And recently he came out with his number one movie of the decade. And Ryan, why don't you take it away from us?
Alright, so his number one movie was The Social Network, and I remember him talking about Dunkirk too. So we'll talk about both of those two movies. The Social Network is probably one of the best edited films, like of the 2000s, easily. Like that film was like flowed so well, going from past to present, and I can see why he picked it. And it was a great story in general, and the acting was phenomenal.
Yeah, I actually just watched it again recently, and I still really enjoyed it. Actually, watching it again made me putting it in a new light. Dare I say, I don't think Mark Zuckerberg's the bad guy in that film, but
So I don't think there is necessarily a bad guy. I think what's her
I'm
name?
just saying, like, he's not exactly the villain that I guess people want him to be. You know where I'm going at?
Yeah, but he did do a couple shitty things.
Oh, no, he did shitty things. I'm not trying to defend every action he did.
I have yet to see it, so if like any of you could explain, I guess briefly, what is exactly shitty he did. I don't care about spoilers because like
it's about Mark Zuckerberg and like how he started Facebook. And
okay.
So like when we're talking about like the shitty things, like he didn't steal the idea. Like that idea was his. Those
because
twins,
of like MySpace.
No, like there was the at Harvard there was the Winklevoss twins.
So what happened was I'm sorry to cut you off.
Yeah, no, go ahead.
But it's the Winklevoss twins. They were like, so Mark Zuckerberg created this thing called I think it's called like Fate, where you rate all the girls on campus. Also, he ran it about he said some very personal details in a rant on his blog about an ex-girlfriend who rightfully cut her out of his life. So then what we had was then the Winklevoss twins come up because he creates this entire new website, and they're like, hey, we're going to give you money so you can build our website for us, and we're going to take a chunk of the credit. Mark Zuckerberg's like, all right, I'll play your little game. He essentially plays them both and was like, yeah, no,
he didn't necessarily play them both. He came up with a completely different idea, and he started to work on that instead of their site. Like, he came up with a much better idea, and he put in all the work, and the execution is far more important than any idea. People have good ideas all the time, but if you can't execute it, then your idea is kind of worthless, and you're worthless at the same time. And Mark Zuckerberg was not worthless. He put in the work, especially in the early 2000s to code. Like he didn't go to class and everything, and to code all that shit, like that was fucking. Like he was a genius to do that.
That's why I kind of don't view Mark Zuckerberg as the villain in this film. Like again, I feel like some people when they got out of this film, like, oh, Mark Zuckerberg's the bad guy. He's the one getting sued. But like, he's the only one at the entire film that actually put any effort into Facebook. Let me actually pull up the wiki real quick.
So, who's Karen from The Office? What was her name? Rashida Jones, right? So I think I remember at the end at the end of the film, her character, which was one of the lawyers for Mark Zuckerberg, she put it the best. She said something about like you're trying too hard to be an asshole, even though you're not. Or something like that, and like, pretty much summarized the whole movie. Especially when you're trying to prove yourself. And he was like in college, like he was in his early 20s, and he's trying to prove himself. The default thing that people go to is kind of, being aggressive, act like an asshole, trying to, it's like the default thing that men do, and with good reason because it's hard to navigate that landscape, but he was basically acting like that, and he was really not, though. He was really not.
Yeah, I mean, the reason I like to back him up is that he because everyone else like kind of they wanted more of just like, for example, like Andrew Garfield's character Eduardo more or less just want to essentially ride the Facebook wave and then try to sell it and end it and not bring it to its full potential. While as Mark Zuckerberg, on the other hand, he wanted to see this become the biggest website in the world.
Mm-hmm.
So like I can understand why he would essentially try to not necessarily cut him out of the company, but cut down his cut down shares, which is still a dick move.
It was a very dick move.
Very dick move, but if you also think about it a little bit.
But you know what? If you're in Harvard and like Eduardo, he's a investor. Like that's what he was doing. His family was already very wealthy, I think, right? And
yeah, like his family's wealthy, and he's also trying to go out and start other businesses and kind of just
but he also should have back to college. He also should have read the contract too when he signed it with that equity firm or that at towards the third act. Like he should have read the contract. Like I don't know what he was doing. Like you're in Harvard, you're an investor. How do you not read a contract?
Yeah, he's kind of like the money brains of that whole operation at first, and also
and his money did play a huge role in the beginning. Like Facebook needed that money. They needed his money in the beginning to build it.
But also again, like he didn't put any effort into like making Facebook what it is really. I mean, he left to go back to college to finish his degree, which is still important. Don't get me wrong. But like if you want to put your passion into something, you do a Mark Zuckerberg. You know, you be like Mark. He goes in, he dedicated all of his time to Facebook to getting it to those 1 million user bases. And it feels like he didn't really even care as long as he was getting the money, wasn't getting screwed over with the money, which later he did. But he only came in for the 1 million party, just 1 million party. That was it.
But thing is he's allowed to do that because if you're an investor, it doesn't mean you have to do work. If you invested in a company and you get a certain percentage, then that's just your percentage. It's not like you have to do a lot of work. You're still entitled to that same percentage. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I feel you on that. It's just that I wish for the amount of like money he was getting out of it, I really wish how I put this. I would be more defending of Eduardo if he put the same amount of effort into Facebook as Mark Zuckerberg.
Mm-hmm.
Like if he stayed in that condo and if he stayed in that house in California with them, and while he didn't know code, like still helped to keep Facebook moving.
Yeah, but his money was doing that, and that was very valuable at that time.
He still should have stayed there and participated in the business. You know,
maybe, but he still put up. He was an investor, and he still put up that money, and it's not like he's.
I mean, but that's more of a reason to probably stay there and make sure things are going along smoothly than go be 1,000 miles away doing something completely different. He was still trying to get an internship. Like, bro, you're sitting on a gold mine. Like, come on.
Yeah, that's true, but he doesn't deserve to get screwed from that, though.
I'm not saying he doesn't deserve money from putting his investment in, but I'm also less inclined to defend him. You know what I mean?
Yeah. It's hard to really defend anyone. Like, they all did really sleazy things. Like, Mark Zuckerberg definitely, like, called the cops on him.
Yeah. No character in this film is, like, 100% clean.
Yeah,
definitely. Know what I mean? It's like Tiger King.
Mm-hmm.
Well, except maybe the tigers and everyone who worked at Joe Exotic's ranch. The ranch workers, I'll defend. Zoo workers, my bad.
Yep. Alright, so we should talk about his number 2 movie, because I really enjoyed that movie, and that was Dunkirk. And that, honestly, like, I wasn't necessarily I wasn't too surprised that he picked it, but I wasn't expecting him to pick it as one of his favorite movies of the 2010s. But you know what? I can see why, because if you can, like, I know I talked about this to you before, but if you can smell a movie, then it's a good fucking movie. Like, if it's a movie so immersive that you can smell it, that you can smell the beaches.
That's why, like,
It's a good.
I really don't want to watch this movie unless I can get it on the best screen I possibly can. Like, I'm waiting for this film to come back out in IMAX just so I can pay like the $20 ticket and go see it in theaters.
Can that happen?
I hope so.
How long has it already been since that movie was released? When did it come out?
That came out in 2017, so probably going to wait a couple years.
Shit.
I mean, who knows? If I get like a nice TV screen and nice surround sound,
I have a theater in my basement.
90-inch curved television for the ultimate immersive.
I have a theater in my basement, so you can.
I saw it.
I saw it in my basement. I didn't see it in theaters. I saw it in like December.
Yeah, I just saw it on my TV over here.
Yeah, I just saw it in my basement with my own popcorn machine.
I don't have a popcorn machine. However, my mom's really making popcorn. Like stovetop popcorn is fucking phenomenal. Anyway,
yeah, I make
like
my family makes its own popcorn. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
One person's talking about the movie, the other one's talking about, I really love popcorn, you guys.
Yes, it wouldn't be a podcast if all three of us weren't talking about our own individual things.
It's like a shitty TV show with multiple storylines. They're just all trying to get back to that single.
Mm-hmm. Nice. Just normal fucking chaos happening.
Oh, so I'm reading the Wikipedia page, and I didn't know that Christopher Nolan conceived this film in the mid-1990s.
That's a long time ago.
Yeah, is actually kind of the celebration of his career because he got so much clout and trust that he's like, okay, now I can make this movie because no American studio is gonna, or any really studio is gonna pay for a British war film. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Nice.
Just like that one shot with like the bombs exploding in that line. I love that.
Again, I still need to see
I gotta rewatch that,
just
so I don't remember.
He was just... I'll show it on screen right now.
I think it's bad enough. The only thing I really remember is just seeing Harry Styles out of nowhere.
Yeah, the only reason... Actually, that's the only reason I think this girl I was dating went to go see that film was because Harry Styles.
Nice. Real nice motivation there.
He was good in that movie, though. So...
Yeah, Harry Styles is an attractive man. Can't complain.
Mm-hmm.
I guess so, but it's like, there's a bigger arc happening in this movie than watching one of the members of One Direction being in here.
Well, former members of One Direction.
Mm-hmm. He was good, though, in the film, so...
Yeah, was that scene that they were like stuck in that boat or something? I don't remember. Something like that. It was like, there were like holes that were...
Yeah,
like gunshots and that's okay.
It was towards the beginning, I think, right?
I think so, kind of. There like several little storylines happening. There was like the old man on the boat that was like trying to get to Dunkirk. Okay.
There was Tom Hardy in a plane. So.
Yeah.
All right, so we should segue to the main point of this podcast, and that is Quentin Tarantino. And his brilliance that he's been putting forth since the late 80s and early 90s.
Perhaps one of the greatest auteurs, if not the greatest auteur of our generation. And film students will not shut the fuck up about him.
Yep.
Speaking of film students, Rob is a film student, so...
Film study student, thank you.
Film study students.
I couldn't get into art school. Calm down.
Check your privilege.
Oh, okay, okay. So how about Rob takes it away with why you love Tarantino's movies?
If you think, how do I put this? Because there's a lot to talk about here. On one hand, he's created original, but I'll get into that in a bit. Hold up for a second. My flash thing was like, hey, I'm gonna pop in at the worst moment but no. On one hand, he creates these original films that are spectacular in their own right, but they also acknowledge and respect films of its past, and he's just a fan of these genres and wanted to make a film within that genre, and wanted to challenge these notions. As I sound super artsy, and this is all totally not off the top of my head. But no, like if you look at it, he he does what he wants to do. He wants to bring respect to the things he's enjoyed in life. You know, I look his most recent film, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. You know, it respects the era that he essentially grew up in, and to kind of essentially bring back a time in Hollywood that has long since been gone, which ended with actually the Manson murders, because it was referenced that I think it's a psychologist or one of these like a lot smarter people than I am, once said that what truly ended the hippie love, free movement, whatever, was the Manson murders, because people were no longer willing to keep their doors open. Rather, they closed them shut because they were afraid of getting murdered.
Murdered, yeah.
So I think it's Once Upon a Time in Hollywood is the perfect movie to talk about right now because it was most recent.
I enjoyed it.
Me too.
I say this is a person who can watch a slow movie and still like really enjoy it. But I enjoyed it.
I love slow
everything.
Movies. Slow TV shows, slow movies like Breaking Bad, like
as slow. I feel like it had a good pace.
TV show.
Yeah, like no, I know. I said slow movies and TV shows. In general, like I like when like a slow burn of a plot.
Like a good set of ribs. If your movie was cooked like ribs, I feel like
low and slow, baby.
Always connecting it back to food. That's our goal here.
Yeah.
No, when I think of Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, I think it's just like the fact that he challenged once again, like obviously with the ending, he rewrote history, which I found really cool. But also, it's just kind of like a tour back in time, you know.
Yeah.
And it's also something he resonates with, you know, essentially the dying, like the end of an era for these actors, also kind of like nearing the end for him, because you know he's famously only making 10 movies, and this is his 9th one. Like, who knows what the last film is going to be about, which I'm gonna see in theaters in a heartbeat.
Yeah, this movie just seemed like a love letter to all his other movies. Like I got that vibe from it.
Oh yeah,
it's like
he definitely parodied himself too with the whole feet jokes.
Yeah, I was going to say like the most famous director known to the earth that now has the biggest foot.
Yeah,
it didn't even struck with me until like I saw I think like a video about it, and then I was rewatching the movie with some family friends, and like my parents were like, "Why is there so many like just shots of just like feet and whatever?" And it was like, "Oh, it's because he's got a fetish." And like, "Oh, okay, I see." You know,
it's alleged he has a foot fetish, but he really doesn't defend himself there.
No, he does.
Every movie.
I don't think he cares. He doesn't care. It's Quentin Tarantino.
There's a lot weirder things out there to be having a fetish for, so you know.
He's too busy crying in his millions and watching classic movies.
Brazilian fart porn.
This is a non-kink shaming podcast. Thank you.
Yes, exactly. We are not.
So
we don't.
Yeah, this movie definitely hits you about, you know, imagine if Brad Pitt had a pit bull and Leonardo DiCaprio was there, and they were living in 1969. Like, imagine
those two I felt it had a really great like bro dynamic. I really loved the two of them working together.
Yeah, that was really cool.
Like,
it's like, were there any other movies that they've been together like that?
No, this is their first movie together.
It's just that fact alone, they just really seem so organic together. Like they've been friends since like 1969, and we're just looking back. It was such a great flow. To the two of them.
Two things to note: it's actually based off a real relationship he had working on one of his movies, because there was a stunt double and an actor, and they've been working together for decades, and they're both kind of on their latter half of their careers. So that's based off a real life relationship.
That's cool. That's really cool.
Yeah, but there's so much to unpack just with the history of the Manson murders, Polanski, and like how much of a freak he was.
Yeah.
And Sharon Tate, like how he tortured her and things like that. There's just so much to unpack about that time, and this movie.
You can only show so much of that in the movie, but
yeah.
Yeah.
But this movie does hit it does hit you in that way. Like imagine if if they didn't kill, if Sharon Tate didn't get, if the mass murders never happened.
Yeah, if
like
Brad Pitt was there to save the day.
Yeah. I mean, I could be wrong on this, but it does also reference the fact that Polanski was very much a fucked up person. He's also a motherfucker.
He is super short too. I didn't realize how short he was.
Yeah, I mean, he left the United States because he had a child abuse charges or some.
He's not allowed to come back. I mean, well, not he can't come back.
Yeah,
and he has he was making a movie too, wasn't he?
Yeah, that's why he wasn't home, because I think he was in Europe making a movie anyway.
Yeah.
One thing I want to note about this movie and what I've been now is because let's move past from Margot Robbie DiCaprio. But like everyone in that film, like even like if you had like one line, everybody was like this big star. Like we had Lena Dunham as essentially as an extra, and she starred in a TV series on HBO. I believe she wrote and created a TV series. She wrote Girls, which is a show that I need to finish binge watching, but that's beside the point. Then you have Harley Quinn Smith, who's a good actress in her own right. She obviously appears in a lot of her dad's films. Yeah, she's I still think she's a good actress in her own right.
No, she's good. I think she's pretty good.
Let me just bring up the cast real quick, because
Dakota Fanning
too. Forgot she was in the film.
Timothy Olyphant.
Who is Dakota Fanning?
How do you not know Dakota Fanning?
No,
who was she in the movie?
She was one of the. She was in charge of them. She wasn't like. She was in charge of the Manson people, but she wasn't Charles Manson.
She played one of the Manson, like not the Manson girl, not a Manson killer, but she was
one of the freaky hippie girls.
Yeah,
she was the girl who was questioning Brad Pitt about entering into the cabin.
Yeah,
you remember that?
Oh, so she was a brunette?
No, she was a blonde. Hold on, she's based off. I'm not obviously a lot of them are based off real characters, but she was like a real player in that whole cult thing, and I think she was part of the trials and everything.
Oh, okay. I'm just trying to like think back to the movie and picture.
We're Zoomers, so we obviously don't know too much about all of this. We weren't even alive too long in the last millennium.
Also has Al Pacino in it too.
God. Yeah, he was in the beginning.
Yeah. Oh my god.
Looking at the cast now.
Squeaky Fromm.
Going through the names is crazy. Kurt Russell's in it too.
I forgot about that.
He was in it, and they also did the narration too, right?
Yeah.
Squeaky Fromm, by the way, is the name of Dakota Fanning's character, and she was And she was.
Oh, she was the one in the. She was the one on the couch. What the fuck? That did not. Oh, okay, now I see it. She looks so different. What the fuck?
Yeah. So she wasn't involved in the thing, but she attempted to assassinate President Gerald Ford.
Oh.
So she was in prison from that.
Damn.
She's still alive too.
Also, shout out to Tiffany Olyphant.
I brought him up. I love him. He's a great actor.
Have you ever watched Santa Clarita Diet?
I've seen a little bit of it.
Such a good show. Yeah. I don't think it got renewed for a 4th season though. So.
Yeah.
It's got like that.
Yeah, he's.
I like it because it has like that like house drama vibe to it, like midday house drama vibe, but it's about cannibalism and zombies. So good.
He's a really funny dude too. Like when he does interviews.
I think he also just recently got cast in something else. Let me take a look at that.
He's supposed to be in was it Star Wars?
He's going to be in The Mandalorian.
The Mandalorian.
Cobb Vanth, I don't know who exactly that is. I should be more familiar with Star Wars lore, but I'm not.
He was hilarious in The Office. when they set up the sting with Meredith.
Also, quick fun fact, He was in Turok, 2008 Turok for video games. We're talking about video games here. Also, he was in Call of Duty Modern Warfare 3. He was Sergeant First Class Grinch.
Oh, that's cool. I didn't know that.
He also did the motion capture for that, which is really cool. All right, so you want to get back to the reason we're all here. Everyone's favorite Quentin Tarantino movies.
Yes, so favorite Quentin Tarantino movie. I'll let you two start first. I'm still not sure.
Nick, why don't you lead the way on us, real?
Yeah, okay. So I guess, it's a good thing you started with me because actually I have not seen like really any of the other movies except for like bits and pieces of Kill Bill. And you can all throw, your tomatoes and bottles at me later, but like I feel like so with a lot of these movies like so obviously like Pulp Fiction, those were like really early on before I was born. But Inglourious Basterds, was that like 2008 or something like that?
2009, yeah.
Okay, so a lot of them came out during a time where I really wasn't interested in serious sort of movies like this. And then as the years go on, I just never came about watching them until Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. And I must say, as a starter, definitely one of my favorites now. I've already seen it twice, and I just really love the flow of DiCaprio and Pitt. They really made for a good buddy story, and just watching all the other side plots, like with Margot Robbie as Sharon, and kind of, if you know a little bit about the history of what happens and kind of seeing everything sort of lead up to that. Like, I think there was that one scene where it was like that random guy knocking on their door, asking like who was living there, and then like he walks off, and it actually took me the second viewing to be like, oh, that was Charles Manson. Like, oh, Jesus. So all those little bits and pieces, I think, were really a nice sort of touch on it. And then, of course, the grand finale, I just thought was great, even though, my dad wasn't much of a fan. But I'm like, well, it's Tarantino. He's known for doing things like this, and all the power to him.
I thought, I thought one of them was gonna die, but then when Leonardo DiCaprio's character, Dalton,
just comes out with freaking.
Well, no, even towards the end when he finally gets invited to the Polanski house.
Yeah.
Well, that was like, damn. I was like, it's very good emotional storytelling, for a movie that was like funny, like very funny at times. At times it didn't take itself too seriously, and like with the Bruce Lee stuff, which by the way, Brad Pitt could not kick Bruce Lee's ass. I'm sorry.
Probably, yeah.
God, no. That's like the one thing I really didn't really believe.
But the portrayal of Bruce Lee was awesome.
Yeah, that was really cool.
I was like, is this actual footage of fucking Bruce Lee? I was like, damn.
I think it was also a good way too to kind of buff up Brad Pitt's character a little, like to show how tough he is.
Mm-hmm.
That he can literally this is literally Bruce Lee, like one of the masters of martial arts, and he just kind of like brushes his shoulders, like, yeah, I can take this little guy,
He's like the Avatar,
sort of just like
all the martial arts.
Maybe like that's so-called like American ignorance. I don't know if you want to put it that way. He just is like, yeah, I can take this, America.
I'll just throw you into a car and piss off Zoe Bell.
Yeah.
Which was that whole sequence where he gets thrown into the car was like not the best edited part, because it looks like he's getting thrown like forward and then he like goes to the side. I don't know, it's very weird.
Okay.
I'll say that's probably like if I had to criticize that movie, it's probably like some of those things. This didn't really matter.
Yeah, nah.
And another thing is like that they do like a few lines of narration throughout like the first half, and then towards the second half the narration starts picking up way more. I was like so confused. I'm like, has there always been a narrator in this movie? I don't know.
I think the narrator just shows up when he's needed, essentially.
Yeah.
I don't remember that. There was a narrator?
There was a narrator.
Kurt Russell was the narrator. And he was also in it, but he was also the narrator. Yeah.
And because he was narrating like the hours leading up.
It's coming back to me. It's coming back. Like how Sharon and
It was very useful towards the end when they were talking
Rick
about...
and Booth were at the same like restaurant or some shit like that. I do remember that.
It was very effective.
That's much needed to kind of set everything up.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I had no idea. I honestly, like, after watching that movie, I kind of dove into the rabbit hole about the Manson murders. Like, I obviously knew what they were, but I didn't know the timeline.
Didn't know to the extent of what it was. Yeah.
Like, I knew Sharon Tate was pregnant, and then they fucking killed her, and then very fucking dark and scary stuff.
Yeah. To mention that these people were like, "I'm the devil, and I'm here to do his work."
Mm-hmm.
Well, that was actually that line that one guy said in the movie before he tried murdering Brad Pitt's character was actually the line said right before Sharon Tate got murdered.
They know that for a fact.
Yeah, that's where Tarantino got the line from.
Oh, okay.
All right, so I guess I'll talk about my favorite Quentin Tarantino movie, which, it's gonna sound kind of cliche, I guess is the right word, but when I think of all of his filmography, I haven't seen what was that? I haven't seen the film that he just wrote and starred in. I forgot the name of it. My bad. Here I am supposed to be the expert, but but no. I look at all the films he's written and directed, and I can safely say that I do enjoy all of them, and comparing all of them is like
tall order.
It's hard because none of them are bad movies, so it's weird saying, "Oh, this is the worst one," but it's the worst Quentin Tarantino movie, which is like you're the worst
model
gold
supermodel.
Worst. I was gonna say worst gold medalist. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah.
So, but one film I keep on always coming back to, and one film that I still always keep on enjoying and making, and every theory I've read about it, I've enjoyed to some degree, is Pulp Fiction.
Yep.
I know, but
again,
I know I'm gonna sound super artsy and pretentious and all that, but I really don't care. I like it because it's very much a film that challenges narrative with its editing and how it's laid out, because it's laid out in non-sequential order.
Mm-hmm.
You have a main character dying in the middle of it, and then showing up again. Right as the movie's about to end. You have, I think this is also the first film that Samuel L. Jackson starred in for Quentin Tarantino. So there's that.
Mm-hmm.
And just everything about this film, I've enjoyed. I like the little mysterious world it builds, especially with the character Wolf. It kind of gives, I know this is going to sound weird, but it's going to kind of gives that John Wick vibe that look at all these worlds of this whole world of hitmen and assassins, and they all have this hierarchy, and everyone's got this little job. I just find it fascinating. Also, the memes that have come out of it is outstanding. I love the classic John Travolta meme. If he's just where am I? What am I doing?
Yeah.
Also, Samuel Jackson himself just saying "bad motherfucker." His wallet is priceless.
Yeah.
I can get into it, but I don't think no one wants to hear me go on that for too long. Also, again, it's just a good movie.
Mm-hmm.
It's
a great movie,
and I think honestly, if you had to pick one film to show, all right, this is Quentin Tarantino, this is it. Unconventional storytelling. You got a little bit of the feet stuff.
Mm-hmm.
You got references to classic cinema especially with the French New Wave.
Mm-hmm.
Even his production company for this film was called A Band Apart, which is the English translation to a famous French New Wave film of. I'm not going to try butchering that in French.
In French.
But
My favorite language, France.
I'm getting there. All right. Sometimes my brain is like a Windows XP computer. It just takes a little bit to load.
Did you say translate to France?
I miss Windows XP.
French.
Okay.
French. I'm not gonna. I'm not trying to butcher it, but it's still. I still watch this movie. I can still put it on and I can still enjoy it. And I like also one of my favorite things is the theories behind what exactly is in the suitcase.
Mm-hmm.
One of the good ones was it was Elvis Presley's gold suit that's in the suitcase. I like the theory that it's Marcellus Wallace's soul is in the suitcase, which gives the film like a little bit of that like mystical vibe to it. Like, okay, they're going to retrieve his soul. And that, you know what? Overall, I really enjoyed it. I think this really helped launch his career. I mean, Reservoir Dogs technically did that, but I mean, for fuck's sake, it's in the Library of Congress. It's culturally, historically, and aesthetically significant. So that's my take on it.
Okay.
Right off the bat.
So since you're doing Pulp Fiction, I would have to pick a different movie, or this podcast would be stupid, even more stupid than it already is. And we were talking about this off air, but my favorite Tarantino movie is Django Unchained. And the reason why, I was thinking about it. I'm like, why is this one of my favorite movies? And I think the reason is because I was at an age when this movie came out where I could really appreciate the Tarantino films. Like when Inglourious Basterds came out, I was still probably a little too young to kind of appreciate it. But then by the time this movie came out, I felt like I was old enough to really like this movie. Definitely like spoke to me like a lot more. And I just love like, you know, people just criticizing Tarantino for making a film like this, but it actually like serves a greater purpose. Like people like love to see realistic, mostly realistic movies about slavery, and it hits hard when it comes to that. And acting is great.
It's also a really good revenge film.
Yeah, like it was like, you know what? It'll be just cool to see if, you know, a former slave to just fucking kill a bunch of motherfuckers.
Yeah.
and it had a great plot around it too.
That KKK scene was
hilarious.
Really funny, especially with the fucking hoods.
Yeah.
Like, if y'all not gonna appreciate my wife, it's hard labor. For making these masks, I'm just gonna go. I love seeing scenes where it's like this, whether it's a documentary or a film, where you see this like all throughout your life, you know them as this like big evil organization or like big evil group, and they have like such mundane problems. Of like the fucking eye mask thing.
You know what? I have a theory about all that shit, like KKK. It's like, you know what, people in general, like especially like young men and like teenagers, like we're all at that place, like we just want to find a place where we can just hang out with people and fit in, where we all like the same things. And whether that's like sports or like a band or something or anything like that, some people just pick racist groups and then they get brainwashed at a young age and they become fucking super racist.
I think it's this is a off topic, but I think I think you get the idea that it's like a part of forming an identity, especially. I mean, again, none of us are super duper experts on this, but I think it connects. I think you're right. People do have a longing to be part of a group, and especially if it's something that. How about this? If it's something, especially if someone is estranged, like I think a good movie to describe this is American History X, in terms of young people getting attached to radicalism. But this is also a separate podcast topic, and I like if we're going to talk about something so serious as this, we should probably make it for a different podcast.
Yep.
Where it can.
Yeah, we will have plenty of other time to talk about this. But as far as Tarantino goes, I think we kind of, for just one video, we randomly wanted to talk about him. I think unless there's anything else you guys want to say, I think that's going to do it.
No, I think we hit the main arteries today.
I think also Django Unchained. It was heavily inspired by spaghetti westerns.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, I want to say that, like a great western, like a lot of his Tarantino's movies.
Especially, it's actually it's also heavily based off the film of the same name. Well, Django by Sergio Corbucci, who also makes a cameo in the film, by the way. But
really?
I like it. It's a film.
I gotta rewatch that movie very soon, or we can do it for the podcast.
Yeah, it's like I was about to say. It's very much a film I need to rewatch anyway, because it's the only Quentin Tarantino film that I think we watched 1 or 2 times.
Mm-hmm. I probably watched it 1 or 2 times.
I need to watch Once Upon a Time in Hollywood again. That's another one.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Nick, I should have my DVD box set of all my Tarantino films.
Exactly. Yeah, I need to.
And
I'm sure Netflix doesn't have any of them. I'm sure so.
Oh, Netflix has a amount.
It has Django. I know that.
What was that you cut out? Yeah, they have Django.
Yeah, they have Django.
Yeah, they have. Let me take a quick look.
Is my mic cutting out?
It was a little bit, yeah.
Okay. Yeah, so I think we should just end this. We'll end here. We'll definitely talk about Tarantino films more. There are plenty of other films to talk about that we have to do. So, is there anything else, guys?
No.
Let me just figure out what's on Netflix right now for Quentin Tarantino. Okay, I got it up. So it's what they have. Excuse me. Is Inglourious Bastards, which everyone still needs to watch. Everyone should watch.
Mm-hmm.
Django Unchained. All these I recommend watching. The Hateful Eight and Hateful Eight, the extension version, which they added new scenes, but also made it a mini series. I watched it. In regards to that, I watched it. I still somewhat enjoyed it as a miniseries. My main complaint about though is I don't know if they fixed this, but apparently there was an error with uploading the file, and a shot got deleted. So I don't know if it's still there. Yeah, so that's something to watch out for when you're binge watching it. But they probably fixed it by now. This was like a year ago. Okay. So, yeah, that's what they have on Netflix now. I don't know about the other streaming services. So if you guys listening to this wants to go on a nice little Tarantino binge, I recommend it.
All right, I think that's gonna do it. This is just a Tarantino podcast. You can look forward to our regular podcast this week, but this was really fun. I just love just doing random podcasts talking about filmmakers that we like. Yeah,
these are definitely the podcasts where we have the most fanboy come out of us.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
agreed.
All right, I think that's gonna do it. Good night, everyone.
All right, thank you for joining us.
Yeah, good night. Peace out, guys.